So here are our burger buns. They are still cooling off, but we are going to enjoy chicken burgers that we will be posting as well. And these are just the best burger buns for just about anything you make. And they're very conducive to baking vegan. So the first step today is I've measured out some of the ingredients. We're going to measure out the flour. So I want 420 grams of flour. Whoops. A quarter cup of sugar or 50 grams of sugar. So I'm going to tear that down and I'm going to put 50 grams of sugar in here. Whoops, a little bit too much. We're going to put this in the bowl here. Okay, so then we've got everything goes in the bowl with this one. It's the easiest thing. I'm gonna put the yeast in next because I'm not actually going to bloom this yeast. Okay, so I am going to pour in about 3/4 of a cup of water. I may need a little more as we go along, but that will help activate that yeast before we start going. So I just kind of get that mixed up. A little bit, just so. Okay, then we're going to put in the butter, which is 2 tablespoons of butter, a teaspoon and a quarter of salt, and 1 egg. And these eggs I got down the street from my neighbor who puts them out in front of her yard, and I just bought them from a cooler yesterday. And then we're just going to mix this up. And as you can see, it may need a little bit more water. I'm going to see how much flour is going to be absorbed by what's there. I like the way that's looking better now. And this is going to have to go for about 7, 8, 9 minutes until it's smooth, and we'll be back. Okay, so the dough is looking really great. I don't know if you can see this, but it's all smooth and elastic and just lovely. So we're gonna stop this. I beat this for about 7 minutes, and I kept increasing the speed as it moved along to almost high, and it's done its job. I don't really have much kneading to do at all with this. This is the easiest recipe to make, and it makes such a nice product. So we're going to turn this off. I love that, the way that's just pulling off of there. And then we're just going to, you could do this with a dough hook, but it doesn't get quite as much real estate, so to speak, on the dough, and I like it because the dough is soft enough. I just use the whisk attachment, and because it's not sticking to my fingers, I can tell it's just about perfect. All I'm going to do at this point is kind of form it into a shape and put it in a greased bowl. And I'm just going to mix that in just a little bit so I can get this into a bowl. I'm not going to add any more flour to it. It's a perfect dough. And we're going to put this in a greased bowl. I've got shortening in there, and just make sure it's covered. Okay, so we'll be back in about an hour and a half. And if you have any other recipe requests or anything that you'd like to know about working in the kitchen or need help with, please put them in the comments below. And if you have a favorite recipe that you'd like us to make, please put that in the comments as well. See you soon. So the dough has been rising for these burger buns. We're just going to dump this out. It should be fine on the counter. We're going to deflate it just ever so gently. And so I'm going to take my knife and I'm just going to divide these into 8 pieces. Okay. Then we're going to just roll these into a ball. And you can put this on the counter and just kind of roll it around like under your hand, and you can feel it forming into a ball. Then we're just going to pat that down a little bit to the size that we want it, which is about like, make sure it's round. And I really haven't put too much pressure on any of these. So now I'm just to give you some idea, they're running about 4 inches across, a little bit less. You can shape them to whatever size. You can actually make these smaller and get more buns out of this. But however you want them. This is 8 hamburger buns. We're going to let these rise until about double. They're going to get puffy. And then we're going to come back and we're going to put some sesame seeds on them and we're going to bake them. So the next step in this process is we're going to butter. These have risen nicely. It's been about an hour, maybe a little less, but I can tell they have risen enough. I have the oven on 375, and we're going to make these beautiful, we're going to brush the tops of them with melted butter. Just want to get this brushed on the sides and just see how, if you can cover the whole top of these. And there is another round of buttering coming up after they've baked for a little bit, but okay. So the other thing I do with these is I put sesame seeds on, and in order to stick the sesame seeds, you can use just water if you are, and the butter, you can use vegan butter. The next step is to get an egg white and 2 tablespoons of water and mix them up. And if you are a vegan and want to do this without that, I've done this before with just brushing a little bit of water on top of the butter and then sprinkling on the sesame seeds, and they'll stick almost as well as with the egg. So we're going to put the egg white in here. And so I'm going to put the water in with the egg yolk, 2 tablespoons of water. And I'm going to just mix that up to loosen that egg white up a little bit. And I've got sesame seeds here. You can use any seeds you want. I just happen to prefer the sesame seeds. But okay, so now I'm going to take and I'm going to brush right over that butter. Don't worry about the butter, it's fine. And this tends to dry a little bit, so I usually try to do 2 of these and then take some sesame seeds and just sprinkle them over the top of the bun. I just keep mixing this up because the egg wants to separate from that water and it gets a little glunky, so if you just keep mixing it up, it keeps it from chunking up on the bread dough, the egg white. We'll put these in at 375. Okay, so it's been a couple of minutes. We're just going to take these out and put another quick round of butter on these. Whoops. And this is just going to make these even just so golden brown. I kind of pat more this time than I do run this brush across the top. Okay, so we'll put these back in. And then they're good to go for about 12 minutes at this point. And those are my beautiful, if you poke them, you can tell that they're completely cooked through. The bottoms look beautiful. I am gonna let them sit there for just a minute and then I'll put them on a rack. And when you get done with them and they've cooled off for at least 15 or 20 minutes, you You can slice them with the serrated knife. This is the best type of knife to use to slice these. And you can make any burger taste much better with these homemade buns, and they're very simple. Okay, I'll put these up here to cool off, and then we can